In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how in Adobe After Effects you can make simple shapes that you create in After Effects morph into one another. Now this trick is going to only work with basic shapes, and as you can see from a graphic designer standpoint, there's really not much you can do with it. It's a nice effect, but what it does do is it opens up your mind to one of the greatest attributes of Adobe After Effects is our ability to morph. And that's all based off of paths. So you can, in After Effects, you can actually morph shapes into one another, but you can also morph graphics into one another. You can also morph images into one another, even footage on video. So it kind of opens up the world to the understanding that you can morph things, and it's all based off of paths. So let's go ahead and get this started. First, it's going to start with you creating shapes. As a quick reminder, you go up to the top, click on your Shapes tool. You can create any shape that you want. So as a quick review, let's go ahead and create a shape. Polygon tool. Hold Shift key and drag, and that creates a perfect shape. And when you create these shapes to morph into one another, you're going to want to try and keep them pretty close to one another. You can morph small shapes into large shapes into small shapes, but you're going to want to kind of keep them on top of one another. If you try to morph something, a shape that's over here with a shape that's over here, it's going to look really kind of awkward. So once you've created the shape, it creates a shape layer. Click on the shape layer, hit the return key, and you can name the shape layer. Organization is going to be key. Now you may have noticed I named it as a triangle. It's because when you open up your shape layers, you have your traps, and you have the contents, which allow you to change whatever it is that you want to change about this shape. So for example, I could change its color. I could add a stroke. Or in the case of the polystar, if I click on the path, I can change the number of points. Right now it has 5. I type in 3, and it's now a triangle. Alright. So as you can see, I've already created some shapes. I've kept them pretty much overlapping one another, about the same size as well. It's important to note that when you open up each layer, each shape layer, that you have, of course, contents and transform. Transform is your traps, which we won't be using for this, but contents is important. Because what you got to do for this to work is you got to take each shape and convert it to what they call a Bezier path or a path. So I'll open up star, open up my contents, and I'm going to select the path. I'm either going to right click if it's a Windows or control click if it's a Mac, and you're going to select the path and convert it to a Bezier path. And you see it changes it to path 1. To keep yourself organized, click on the path, hit the return key, and then rename it. I'll show you why. It's mainly for organization, but I'll show you what this also helps with later on. So let's do it to all of our shapes real quick. So polygon, open it up, open up contents, open up the shape, select the path, right or control click, convert it, select it again, rename it. Selecting my triangle, open up the contents, open up the polystar, open up the paths. Let's convert this to 3 points. Select the path, right or control click, convert it. Select the path again, hit return, rename it. Select the shape, open up the contents, open up the contents of the shape, select the path, right control click, convert it, select it again, hit the return key, rename it. Select the shape layer, open up the contents, open up the shape, select the path, right control click, convert it, click it again, hit the return key, rename it. Now, as promised, the reason that we do all this is a lot for organization keys, but it's purposes, but also when you have a lot of shapes that you're trying to morph into one another, it's going to really help eliminate a lot of confusion. Then you may say to yourself, did I convert the star one? I don't remember. Well, if I open it up and I open up the path and I see star path, then that tells me I went through the whole process to convert it because I took the time to rename it. Alright, so in order to get this to go and morph, what you're really going to wind up doing is you're actually going to be taking not the paths, but keyframes that you create. And you're going to copy those and you're going to put them all on one path. Kind of show you. It's a path, and I've created keyframes along the path, and each one of these keyframes is a keyframe that I created using these existing shapes. So let's show you how that works. So let's open up my star path. You can see I have a little stopwatch so I can create keyframes. Turn it on so we can see it. I'm going to go down 1 second. I'm going to create a keyframe. Let's close this up. Turn on our polygon. Select the polygon path. We go down 1 more second. Open the path up, set a keyframe. I'm going to click on the keyframe, copy it. Let's turn that off. Click on star, open it up, click on the path, it's still set to 2 seconds, and we'll paste. So you're not pasting the shapes into it, you can't do that. You're not going to paste the actual paths themselves. What you're pasting is the keyframes. So let's do it for the rest of them. Go down to another second. We'll open up our triangle, open up the contents, open up the triangle path, create a keyframe, copy it, go back to the star frame, already set, paste it. There's my triangle. Actually, make sure that we select our keyframe for it. Select it, copy it, back to my star, and paste the keyframe. Okay. So you'll have all your keyframes pasted in. Turn this on so you can see it. And with all your animations, you got to think of how it starts and how it ends. And you're also going to want to leave it on there long enough, just long enough, usually about a second or so, that people can recognize what the shape is before you start transforming it into its next shape. So you'll see that I not only have a keyframe that's the shape, but then I'll take and I'll duplicate it so that when there's my final shape there for the polygon, I'm going to keep that polygon shape. So you can see that as I move down the timeline, I've literally just copied this keyframe and pasted it to the next second so that it holds it long enough. Then I pasted in keyframe for the triangle, duplicated that keyframe, moved down the timeline 1 more second so it holds it. Then I pasted in the keyframe for my circle, duplicated it, pasted it down the next second so it would hold it, and move down the timeline, paste in my square keyframe, duplicated it, move down one more second, pasted it, then I put in a keyframe for my star again so I could return back to where I was. And then there we go. And then I use the Easy Ease feature on the keyframes. Again, select the keyframe, control click or right click, and go to Keyframe Assistant, and you can set it to Easy Ease, and that makes it a little more of a smoother animation. So remember, it's pasting them all into one shape layer, and it's the keyframes that you're pasting into it. Once you paste one of the keyframes in there, you're going to want to duplicate it so that it can hold it for a second so that they can recognize what the shape is. An Easy Ease feature allows it to be a smooth transition until you're finished. And this is how we morph basic shapes in Adobe After Effects.